Hey guys, so I had psychoanalytic theory. We all love Freud, right? So it was developed by Sigmund Freud. He was a psychiatrist and he began his interest based on his own emotional problems and phobias that he had. He formulated his theory through work with his own patients. Although his theory was not widely accepted and there was a lot of pushback on it, it's still labeled as the most comprehensive of personality theories and psychotherapy that was ever developed. So I've always been kind of fascinated by Freud. He's not my favorite. It's not something that I would use in everyday life by any means, for obvious reasons. But we still did learn a lot from him over time in the mental health field. And he's also just interesting. He called attention to the psychodynamic factors that motivate behavior, focusing on the role of the unconscious and developing the first therapeutic procedures for understanding and modifying the structure of one's basic character. It was all based on the fact that behavior was determined by irrational forces, unconscious motivations, biological and instinctual. I'm looking at my notes. Sorry, guys. Biological and instinctual factors that evolve through psychosexual stages. And we're all familiar with those, I think. The first year of life is the oral stage. The ages from 1 to 3 are the anal stage. Ages 3 to 6 would be the phallic stage. And then it goes on through other psychosexual stages. Basically, everything from age 6 to death is all the genital stage, but each one, 12 to 18, for example, each one is developmentally appropriate for that age and stage. So maybe you're 12 years old and your sexual stage is based on the hormones that we all get in junior high, and we're starting to go through those things. According to Freud, the personality was made up of 3 systems: the id, the ego, and the superego. The id is the original ego we all have from birth, so that whole blank slate sort of idea. And it was ruled by the pleasure principle. The ego is sort of what controls your executive functioning and is ruled by the reality principle. It's your filter. The superego is a person's moral code, and there are 3 types of personality. Let me look at this. Well, those are your 3 types. Okay, so there are 3 types of anxiety, pardon me. Reality anxiety, neurotic anxiety, and moral anxiety. So reality anxiety is the fear of danger from the external world, the external environments. Your anxiety level is proportionate to a real threat. And neurotic anxiety is a fear that your instincts will get out of control and you will do something you regret. Your moral anxiety is fear of your own conscience, feelings of guilt when doing something that maybe goes against your moral code, something like that. There are ego defense mechanisms, and ego defense mechanisms help somebody to cope with their anxiety and prevent the ego from being overwhelmed. So those are repression, denial, reaction formation, regression, projection, displacement, rationalization, sublimation, introjection, identification, and compensation. And I'm sure at one point in time we've all experienced some of these, sort of coping mechanisms for our own anxiety. I know in work over at Boot Hill, I've seen clients who have gone through some repression, regression, denial, displacement. And I mean, I've had my experience with some of those anyway in the past. So in psychoanalytic treatment, therapeutic goals are to increase adaptive functioning of the client, which involves reduction of symptoms and resolution of the conflict. It's meant to make the behavior more reliant upon reality and less on instinctual cravings or on irrational guilt. Therapeutic functioning and goal of the therapy is to be non-judgmental. Therapists should avoid self-disclosure, so no personal stories, and promote the transference relationship. So it's kind of the basis of therapy today. You go in non-judgmentally, very objective, and you sit with your client, and whenever they're telling their story and they're there for whatever they're there for, it's meant for them to project any awful feelings of the old relationship or the problem onto the therapist to work through the problem. Psychoanalytic treatment is typically focused on long-term changes of personality rather than any brief problem solution sort of situation. So that's one of the, I don't know how I'd put it, that's one of the criticisms of that, is that it's not necessarily super beneficial in an immediate crisis situation or in a situation with a client who has an immediate problem that they need to resolve or work on. It doesn't address social, cultural, or political factors of an individual's problems. And classically, whenever it first began, and traditionally, it doesn't typically suit those of low income as well as it does middle or upper income. So, and a lot of people, of course, as we all know, were very much against it, psychoanalytic theory being focused so much on sexual phases. So, I guess that's it for now. Thanks.